Good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of The Buzz on Galaxy Television. Today, Wednesday, the 22nd of May 2024. A rainy morning it has been, and yes, it sort of like has set the tone for the day. Things are just, beginning to come back to normal, like gradually. Did you experience rain in your area? Did you enjoy it? Did you not see rain today? If not, please, who did you offend in heaven? I did not send rain to you. Anyways, just trying to keep it light on the program. Welcome to the show. Today on the program, we'll be talking about trending issues on social media, one of which is the fact that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's one-year anniversary commemoration begins today, Wednesday. All right, so already the presidency has released an itinerary of events, for the next 1 week to celebrate the president's 1 year in office. Joining me on the program this afternoon, my regulars are back at the table, and with pleasure I welcome back Mr. Nuruddin Adekbenro. He's a journalist, he's a lecturer, and also a public affairs analyst. Good afternoon, Mr. Adekbenro.
Good afternoon.
It's nice to have you here.
Good afternoon to our viewers.
Welcome to the show. I know the rain sort of confused things up a bit. Welcome to the show. Also joining us today, Mr. Segun Sokwito is here. He's a business and finance expert. He's also the chairman Act Network, which is an activist group. Okay, so he's also here as a public affairs analyst. Good afternoon, Mr. Sokwito.
Good afternoon,
Arojo.
Arojo, and well, and we're happy about it. The heat in the last couple of days have been crazy.
The sun.
Yeah, so the God has given us succor.
Some sort of respite.
We pray that we get some more rain. Not just for that, also for agriculture and the other things. Exactly. The rains have kind of been a bit delayed and scattered. We're in May. We're actually at the end of May, and we can still count the number of rains we've had. So we're happy. Arojo,
okay.
and we're happy about it.
Welcome to the show. Also, let me welcome the viewers to the program. I observed that some viewers are still sending messages to the old numbers we used to use on the program. All right, please, I've announced before, those numbers are no longer used for this show. So if you send a message there, there's no way I'll get to read it on the program. And I really covet your messages. I want to read them on the show. So please endeavor to send them to the number that will be on the screen shortly. That is the only number I have access to at the moment. And that's only where I can get to read your text messages. All right, so the number, I beg your pardon, will be on the screen in a short while. Don't forget, you can watch us live on X, formerly Twitter. Also, we are on Star Times, or just download the Galaxy TV app and watch us on your mobile devices. Well, yesterday on the program, I did mention that the labor unions have given federal government May 31st as deadline for the new minimum wage. I also did mention that yesterday there was the tripartite committee who was supposed to be having these negotiations with labor on the new minimum wage also met yesterday. Well, the outcome of yesterday's meeting is not so palatable because once again, Labour has rejected the federal government's proposal of 54,000 naira as the new minimum wage. In a meeting with organized Labour in Abuja, the federal government proposed 54,000 naira as the new wage against its earlier 48,000 naira offer. And as at press time today, yesterday, I beg your pardon, the meeting was still ongoing. Well, National President of the NLC, Joe Ajaero, is insisting on 615,000 naira as the new minimum wage, arguing that the amount was arrived at after a thorough analysis of the current economic situation and the needs of an average Nigerian family of 6. Despite earnest efforts to reach an equitable agreement, the less than reasonable action of the government and the organized private sector has once again led to a breakdown of negotiations. In fact, Labour yesterday walked out again. It's becoming like a norm for Labour to walk out of the meetings, while they are holding a stance. Anyways, To begin this conversation, let's listen to Joe Ajaero one more time, and then we'll come back to the tape. All right, so Labour is citing insurance, housing, transportation as basic provisions the government needs to provide for the Nigerian worker for it to be okay. Mr. Dibendro?
Well, for me, whatever any level that NLC and TUC is pushing the federal government to, I'm totally in support of them. So if they are budgeting out these amounts, if they can, I now see the reason why they are aiming higher before the before the negotiation, because they know those people they are sitting with. The another thing again is that if somebody is proposing 500, 600, and somebody is coming with 40,000, you know the reason why those people stay at that 600, because the way it is going now, if federal government knows that, okay, and the state governors, they cannot pay, fine, no problem. Whatever you want to pay, everybody should be collecting minimum wage. Either you are appointee of government, they should change the rules. Let everybody, even the president, should be collecting minimum wage.
Well, is that constitutional though?
No, that is a rule. Then they should change the law. If you cannot pay, so that we know all of us, we are managing. Let everybody be managing together. Because they will tell you that if they want to pay 2,000 naira, if they want to pay 500,000 naira as minimum wage, and where are we going to see the money? There will be inflation. But there won't be inflation when they are buying vehicles for National Assembly members. There won't be. Do you know that if you want to work in Nigeria for 35 years, it is better for you to be a special advisor to president for 2 tenures. You are okay more than somebody that is going to use 35 years. What are we now saying?
In terms of remuneration.
In terms of remuneration.
Okay. Wow.
In terms of remuneration, it is better for you to work in state government, to work as a special advisor, special assistant to governor, than to be somebody that will work for 32 years. Where is the insurance that we are even talking about? Where is the insurance? So, and that is the thing. Now, but I'm just begging the Labour. They should put on the thinking cap. I'm not the kind of person that is so attached value to money. I attach values to services more than money. I keep saying it. I think about something this morning. Is there a way where the civil servants, those people working with the government, they can have something like a cowrie card? They go to any hospital, they've been attended to because they are working for the government. Any hospital.
Whether
irrespective of any hospital, in terms of emergency, with their cowrie card, because they are civil servants. Is there a way that their student, their school, their children can go to any university?
Would there be some elements of discrimination in that? Because how about the others that make up the majority, by the way, who do not work for government?
So there is a discrimination already. If you are working for government and you are not working for government, there is discrimination already.
I know that dichotomy is there,
yes,
but then it becomes more.
But let me look.
Even more pronounced.
It's everywhere. Even in abroad, those people working with the government, there are some things that they enjoy. Apart from the general thing they enjoy. That one will not stop us from having access to quality education,
healthcare, and all that.
That one will not. But for the fact that you are working for government, did you know that today, if you start with a private, apart from job security, if you work with private for 35 years and somebody working with government for 35 years, but you go pay one person. Let's start. How much is the entry point? There are some level you cannot be, or help you have somewhere at the top. So one thing there is
in the civil service.
Yes. So one thing there is that they should be able to have some certain things. It's not about money increment, but let them have all those things that take their money away. For instance,
social welfare
package is what is important, but so far they cannot prepare it overnight because it's not available. Even we that are not working for government, what is the social welfare package that a citizen, because they have to be a citizen first before being a government worker. So if they can't do that, then automatically Labour should push them beyond, because one thing there is this. In the last 1 year, let's not even, it's not a Tinubu thing, because he has just used 1 year. Let's say in the last 4 years, how much is being sold for petrol, pump price now? How much is it now? Then and now. Let us look at the coefficient. Let's add it to the minimum wage. Accessible to water in the last 4 years to this year. Let's now put that coefficient, add it to hit insecurity. By the time then the environment where government worker works, you get to some certain local government or some agencies of government, you will, in fact, what you are going to see, you will just be crying that there is no reason that these people can really perform. So automatically all this thing is what, then at the same time there is no rigidity when you are really talking about this kind of labor and TUC. They should hold whatever they are holding, but they should not be rigid. They still must be flexible. While government side also must be flexible, putting all this kind of ridiculous amount when you are looking at what somebody wants to buy pepper. Now that pepper is being sold for 500,000 naira, we say 30,000. So that is the thing. What is important? They should bring what is reasonable to the table, and they should see that. But we don't want to hear, and if you pay this so amount, it's going to cause inflation. Those bad economics we don't want to hear, because there was no inflation when government appointees, ministers, senators, House of Rep members, they are governors, commissioners, when they are collecting money, there is no inflation. But if it is that is the thing.
Thank you so much. All right, let me bring Mr. Shopito into the conversation now. Now, one of the expectations of having a sit-down, a dialogue, a negotiation, whatever you want to call it, is that there will be a middle point where we meet. All right, so so far Labour has worked out on the government, if my calculation is correct, like 3 times now, okay, over this issue of minimum. Where is the middle in all of this? Is there even a midpoint, you know, where both parties can agree on this issue of minimum wage?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is a middle point, and both parties know where it is. So
it doesn't look that way, though, from
both parties know
what we're seeing.
Ajero knows what is payable. He knows. Okay. And the government knows that 54,000 will not be accepted. They both know. They all do. So all of this is just a ritual. It's a ritual that they dance. It's a dance that is danced every 5-6 years. And look, if you just go and check, Google the news, you'll find the same scenario played out repeatedly. Every single time that the minimum wage conversation has come up for negotiation, this ritual happened. There were walkouts, you know, there were negotiations, there were deals put forward and rejected, all of this. You know, so we're just repeating the same macabres. And for me, and that is the concern, for how long are we going to keep doing these things that are really, really not moving us in any direction? We're just dancing around in circles. We're not making progress. In fact, we're moving backwards, because if you're not making progress, others are moving past you, which means you are moving backward. You know, the conversation from the Labour Congress should move beyond minimum wage for government workers. I think we've gone past that. You know, he said something, and I really think that that's the conversation that we need to be having as a country. This government is serious about development, inclusive, wide, broad development for the country that will impact your GDP growth, and therefore boosts the quality of life of the people. We must start talking about a national living wage. That is a law encompassing all employers of labor, not just government. This is crucial. All employers of labor. Because that's the way it is in all civilized societies. There is nowhere in the civilized world where you find an employer just randomly on their own whim deciding how much they will pay a worker. There's a minimum below which you cannot go. $6, $10 per hour, you know, those figures are laws. Some of them are national. In the United States, each state has its own, but there's a national, you know, and that thing applies to everybody. Whether you are running a cafe or it's a hospital, you cannot pay below that figure.
That, okay.
You can't. And I think that that's where Labour needs to take this conversation, because if we do that, then ultimately we will all benefit. Labour themselves, you know, will be a part of the conversation. So let's assume that we agree a 150,000, for example. Let's find a workable template, taking into consideration our economic realities in the private sector, organized private sector, and informal sector. Let's look at all of the variables and find a way, some sort of meeting point where we can propose a minimum below which, if you're in the private sector, you cannot go. We can even have a scaled, graduated structure. We can say this is the minimum for private sector. If you are OPS and you are running a turnover of so and so, between this range of turnover, you cannot pay below this. If you are informal sector and your turnover is, let's say, 10 million per annum, obviously your capacity is limited, but there is a regulation that compels you. So because what you find, because what you find in Nigeria is that employers exploit employees. They believe that they are doing a favor to these people because of the high unemployment rate. They know that if you refuse and you walk away, they will replace you in a flash, right? So they exploit these people. So can we have a law that compels even private sector people not to go below a certain amount? A situation where 30,000 naira for government work, do you know there are people that are earning way below that till today in this economy? As bad as things are, people are still collecting 20,000. So you now find that the arguments for, what happens is the employer will say, well, I will only employ people that live around me. So you can eliminate transportation costs. Some will find a way to provide maybe accommodation for them and all that. But look, even if the person is not transporting themselves and you are housing them, 20,000 naira just for your own existence. The toiletries you are going to use, the food for 1 month. Abba. So we need to fix this beyond this, for me, slightly ridiculous dance that labor goes into. It's also narrow-minded. And that's my problem with organized labor in Nigeria. We have to be having deeper conversations for the national, for the good of the majority. Because at the end of the day, when they finish this argument, I'm sure they're going to land somewhere between 100 and 150. That's what's going to happen, from government. When that happens, what happens to the rest of the economy? And if you don't do that, invariably the economy will suffer because there will not be growth. Spending power, disposable income is still limited, and you are saying, you are talking about minimum wage and all that. So we need to get serious as a country. The government needs to show more commitment. The government needs to show more vision and show that they are thinking beyond this business as usual thing. It's so unfortunate that nothing has changed. It's just business as usual. Everybody that said they had renewed hope and they expected that something magical was going to happen, well, here we are. It's business as usual. Nothing has changed. Nothing. We're just exactly where we are, if not worse.
And in addition, by the time we just oppose the salaries, the stipends they call it, honorarium that they call it, of public office holder, you just oppose it with workers, then you are going to agree with labor that we're supposed to have 700,000 naira as minimum wage. Yes, I know somebody that has been special assistant to the president for just 4 years. It has 2 big hotels. And he told me that, this is what I do for. I did not steal from anything.
I don't believe him.
What I'm saying is this. Even at that, for him to even have that, and I know this person before become special assistant, automatically he got it from the system. So if somebody within 4 years can have that in terms of wealthy progression, compared to someone that is working for 35 years, on my radio, on my program on radio, I know the number of retirees that I'm fighting to even collect their money from their cooperative society, and they work for government for 35 years, 34 years.
Even as we speak, some retired police officers have been staging protests for a while over unpaid pensions.
I know a commissioner of police, retired commissioner of police, in the last 20 years, he has not collected anything.
Goodness.
Yes. He has not collected anything. So, and that is why I agree with Mr. Ajoba. And every day is must be an inclusive one. How will somebody retire from government? If you are retiring from private organization, whatever you've kept aside, you know that was what you are going to go and meet. In fact, those ones are still well okay. They do get that money. Compared to working for government, gratuity, whatever, to collect it from cooperative. Do you know there are some governors, they borrow from cooperative society of their own, of their workers in their states. The governor, the money that you did not, the money belongs to the civil servant, they are keeping out of their salary. They will still borrow from the cooperative of that particular workers. Why? So all these things should be what labor needs to talk about.
Discussing.
A lot of retirees are suffering as we speak.
All right, so like my guests have said, labor should be having a deeper conversation. Yes, agreeing on a new minimum wage is a must because the old wage of 30,000 actually expired on the 18th of April. All right, so after it's been in use for 5 years, we should have a new minimum wage. In fact, even if it didn't expire, I think with what is going on right now with the economy, with the inflation and everything, there should be a new minimum wage really, because really it's becoming more and more difficult to cope for a lot of Nigerians. And Labour has given the federal government May 31st deadline, all right, for the new minimum wage. So they have till next week, Friday. If there's no minimum wage by that time, Labour is saying they might actually order a total shutdown of the country as it is.